What's it worth? Oh, 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 oh. What's it worth? Oh, 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 oh. Welcome, everyone, to the Total Innovation Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Simon Hill. One of the ideas at the heart of this podcast, and quite honestly, at the heart of everything that I work on every single day, is that the best answer to a hard problem is rarely where you'd expect to find it. It might be sitting in a university in a different country, in a discipline that seems completely unrelated, in the mind of someone who's never set foot in your industry. That is the promise of open innovation, or at least that is the theory. Today's guest is the proof. He grew up in Russia. He left to pursue a doctorate in Italy. He's worked in industrial automation, certified himself across robotics and control systems, served an internship at Bosch Rexroth, and built a career working in the kind of complex engineering problems that most people would find impenetrable. And then he heard a rumor about a place, almost mythical in the telling of it, where companies with genuinely hard problems would post them openly and pay strangers to solve them. He was, of course, suspicious. He went away looking anyway, and he participated. And then he won multiple times on problems ranging from glass recycling robotics in Italy to crop protein vulnerability at elevated temperatures for the Gates Foundation to reinforcing underground electrical substations. Multiple wins from a standing start in the last few years. And that puts him in a very small group globally. And it makes him exactly the kind of person that I wanted to talk to on this podcast. And with that, my guest today is Vladislav Belousov. Vlad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for this very deep introduction. Thank you for having me. Today, we will discuss about my story and some of my part, how I found the Innocentive platform. And it also very interesting, I suppose, because when you're creating this platform, you always talking about the innovation, and I suppose this word innovation, it was the global attractor for me when I found your platform, because maybe I can say that the engineering and innovation was in my life even from my childhood, because almost every day I goes with my grandfather to the garage, and my grandfather was the very good Soviet engineer, and all garage was full of some interesting details, some micro schemes, some prisms, and from maybe when I was 7, I started to go with him, and I see everything, all of that stuff, and every day he explained me how it works, explained me there's some Newton laws, and so I'm deeply engineer from my early stage.
From an early age, exactly. And I think that there's a lot of people listening who will be part of the community that you're a part of who would really resonate with that as well, right? In speaking to various members of that community over the years, and having the privilege sometimes of them letting me look behind the camera at the backgrounds that they have, it sounds a little bit like your grandfather's workshop or garage as you describe it, but he may have called it his workshop, with all these different schemas and devices and gadgets and experiments being run in a variety of different topic areas. But you also mentioned, as I said in the introduction, your background coming from Russia, and as I said, now finding yourself as having studied a doctorate in Italy. Maybe let's just talk a little bit about that journey, right? So from your early days, learning from the great mentor of your grandfather to sort of bringing us up to speed today, right? From Russia to Italy, and that journey shapes an individual. It shapes a mind. It shapes a curiosity, but also I think a determination to get things done. So maybe just share a little bit about your background and your journey up until today, and then we'll dig into the incentive story a little bit more as well.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, my grandfather was my teacher engineer, and of course I decided to go on this way, and I was successfully accepted to the Russian university in Moscow, and it was the civil engineering university, and it was, the first interesting combination of my study, because I was accepted on the automation technology program in University of Civil Engineering, and I expected to see some super innovative devices like construction 3D printer or some automotive robots on the construction site. But as my expectations didn't match with the reality, and all of innovation it's inside the civil engineering. It was like smart house, when you can use the smart lights, smart music, security systems, and all of that stuff. But of course, I was curious about to find something for me. And on my second course of the university, I to be honest, I almost lose my hope to find something. But exactly in this moment, the university invites the German professor from the HTV Berlin. The name of this professor is Knut Hartenstein, and I'm really thankful to him, because for me it was like a very big event and very big surprise, because usually our university is not inviting some speakers or professors abroad. And for me, it was actually a good match, because I worked in the Bosch Rexroth, and I have also some base of the German engineers or German engineering. And in that moment, I suppose I've seen the difference between the Russian educational system and the German educational system, because he was super friendly, and he read the course of the mechatronics, and mechatronics it's like the next stage after the automation, and for me it was super interesting, and I catch it. And I said that, wow, for me it's super interesting, I must go to this course. And on our first meeting in group of automation students, he gave us some very well. It was not a big, but it's a smart production camera inside some processor with a machine learning inside of this camera. And he was super excited, to do something with that camera. And I remember that moment, like he asked, "Hey guys, who wants to work with me, and who wants to develop something using that camera?" And it was, totally silence. Nobody, I don't know why, but nobody would like to work in that project. But after that, I was waiting the end of this lecture. I goes to him and said, "Mr. Hartenstein, I'm super excited and I really want to work with you, and let's do something very great." And he was also very happy because I was, just one student who agreed to work on that some project, and it's without how to say, no some positive, let's say, changes for my education. It's just an interesting project. It's not like completing my degree or something like. And so he gave me the camera, give me the instructions on German language, and in this time it was well, yeah, we have the Google Translate, but it was not a smart thing like right now. And 2 days ago he gave me the English instruction, and he said, okay, you're totally free, you can make whatever you want. And I have the 3 weeks for creating something interesting. So after that moment, in 3 days, I called him and I said, okay, I've done. He said like, what? Wait, it's just 3 days ago. I give you 3 weeks. I said, yeah, I already complete the project. And it was, I take the camera like that way, and I have some schemes inside our laboratory of automation inside the university, and I just grab some schemes, and learned system inside the camera to analyze this. For instance, this is like a big broken scheme. This is a small correct scheme, and and I simulate conveyor, let's say, by myself using the just one camera. To put the broken scheme on the camera, and on the monitor we see the output, like okay, this broken or it's correct, and something like that. And I literally living 3 days in this laboratory, and because it was I realized that it was my chance to grab exactly the way what I would like to have.
Yep.
And so after that, the professor comes to me and see all of that stuff, see that it's really worked. And after that, we goes to the director of the our department of automation, and Knut, professor, told me that told him that look, he created for 3 days, and maybe we can move forward, because we have the 1 month for creating something new. And here, in that moment, our director gave me the access to the robot manipulator. I don't know why, I don't know how, but this robot exists in our automation department in our laboratory. And they use this robot just for one thing. It's like, demonstrate on the open days at the university that, look, we have the robots, and this robot can grab and sort some details. Of course, for the civil engineering and construction, it's a bit useless, but it's super interesting for the freshmen when he usually works something, let's say, intellectual and movements machine.
Yeah.
And also for me, it was the hook. And but I realized that this robot has a lot of potential inside, and I immediately realized that we can create the 3D printer, but for the construction industry. And so I had the access from my director of our department of automation, and so I just started to work, and we made the second project with exactly the 3D printer for the construction using this robot. And I also successfully completed, and I realized that I realized my maybe mistake when I just started to to study at the university. I tried to find innovation, but in that moment I realized that I don't need to find an innovation. I have to create the innovations. And yeah, after that, my let's say ambitions and my interests and my skills started, tremendously grow up. And yeah, I'm really thankful to all of that people that gave me this opportunity. And of course, yeah, I successfully complete my dissertation inside the university, and it was about the robotics on the construction industry for monitoring the progress of the buildings inside the construction. Yeah.
After it's a big personal journey of discovery to work out. Yeah, I think there's lots of people, wherever they might be in their professional lives and personal journeys, will be able to cast their minds back to that period of time between school and sort of fully formed professional life where it's pretty unsure, right? You're trying to figure something out, and you've got this super interesting backdrop of your grandfather as the teacher, and knowing where your interest lied and your intrigue lay, but not necessarily what was going to give you the energy to go and apply, right? You get there and I can certainly cast my mind back to university days and being surprised and perhaps disappointed at what it was versus what I'd hoped it to be in any given discipline. The theory is always important, but you've got to find that sort of applied practice. And then when you bring in this innovation layer of, in a world that's kind of given you the problems, it's given you the needs to know, I have to invent them. I have to find them myself. I have to spot opportunities where perhaps other people don't see them. Is a big personal journey. Is that partly what led you to move as well?
Sorry?
Is that partly what led you to move countries as well? Was there sort of personal exploration as well as studying?
Yeah. After that, I was invited to work in the Skolkovo. Skolkovo, it's like the Russian Silicon Valley, and I was like, I don't remember exactly, but maybe 24, 25, and for me it was like I already I worked in the startup, and we was the first company in Russia who exactly integrate the quadruped robotic systems inside the industrial field, because it was the first days when when the all of that company like Unit3 started to develop their own quadruped robots. But it was in the first time it was just for fun, but we decided to integrate all of that smart system inside the industrial field, like oil and gas companies, like energy companies. And I realized that, maybe that's a super good way for me in Russia, but maybe I have to go next. And to be honest, it was the extremely hard decision. I mean, it was the choice. I will stay in Skolkovo, or I move abroad to study something new. And it was also my dream, I suppose, even from the school, to study abroad. Also, in some countries, to see the world. And it was super big dream for me. And I realized that, in this case, I made all of interesting things, but I have to move forward. And I decided to go to the next stage of my life, something like that. And Yeah, I choose exactly the program like robotics engineering in Italy, and Italians was super friendly to me, and invited to their master degree program of the robotics engineering. And yeah, after that I thought that it will be it will be the good way to grow as a professional in this field. But again, my expectation and reality, it was a bit different. And of course, I didn't see some super innovative program of robotics in Italy. Maybe it's not a problem of Italy. It's not a problem of the university. It's a problem of educational system as well, because for instance, even now, we have the super booster like artificial intelligence, and if you right now go to the university and try to study the AI in some, I don't know, bachelor or master degree program, in 4 years, all of that knowledge could be, absolutely useless, and that's the tricky thing. But yeah, in Italy, I found exactly I found the way. Well, not the way. I found exactly let's say, the point when I don't know what I have to do next. And because I've been in the Skolkovo, we have all of the drones, robots, super innovative every week. So we have events, and here I moved to Italy, and I see just theoretical part of how to build the kinematics of robots, and I realized that, wait guys, I already know how to do that, and I don't need these formulas and all of that stuff, because I worked with a robot in Russia. And so yeah, it was like the hard period of who I am right now. And yeah, I started to think that probably I have another my dream to try myself in some biotech or medicine or healthcare or whatever, because usually I faced with a situation like yes, I'm good engineer, but sometimes I cannot fix the problem which requires the knowledge in the health, or knowledge in the human body. And it could be the nice second part of my growing as a specialist. And in this case, I was accepted to the program of the as a research assistant in the Italian Institute of Technology. And I realized that it was very interesting, but super hard to make this shift from the automation to the biology, because inside the biology, for instance, the moleculars don't know about the X and Y coordinates, right? They don't care about it. That's absolutely different world, and maybe even harder than automation. But at that moment when it was the let's say bifurcation point, and I started to think who I am, what I have to do here, and what is my next goal. And I remembered, it was like in one day. I remember my child, I remember my childhood, I remember my university, I remember my current stage, and I remember some the gold legend in our university, that we had the some professor, very respectful and very smart professor, who visited our university maybe 2 times in a year, and just for the reading the lectures. And it was the legend about this professor that he's very smart, he's very respectful, and he is, doing the great and big projects just, alone. And he knows about some platform where he grabbed this project and successfully completed and raised a lot of money and live it super happy. So, and in this case, I realized that I also sometimes, maybe I don't know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I've seen your platform. At that moment it was the Vazoku crowd, yeah, I started to try to found this platform because I know that exists, but I don't remember the name, and when I started to Google it, it was not so easy to find it because I don't know why, and honestly, because
You're not quite sure what you're looking for either. It's this mythical platform that, speaks to this very specialist but sort of cross-disciplined community of people that is, offering you opportunities to get into the very applied parts of some of the the deep tech scientific type problem spaces that you're talking about. It's like, well, what do you go look for even in that world, right? It's like, what am I asking the search engine or now the AI to find for me? Is a piece of that as well. And you telling me that story when we first met, which was face to face in Italy, and we'll get into some of the kind of why that came about piece. I love this story, right? This idea that the professor on this journey that you've already taken us through, right, from where you started to where you are now in your life and the narrative that we're weaving here. And now this moment of like, well, how do I apply what I'm doing and how do I find it? And another key person in your life, right? I think, in some small way reminds you or mentions this platform that you then eventually find your way to, right? And that you, I guess, as you told me, were somewhat skeptical and suspicious of, because it feels quite like a grand promise to offer thousands and thousands of dollars or more, for doing this work. So let's just talk a little bit around that, your early discovery and your early experiences of working in this new world versus the world that you were kind of in right now, which is much more theory based in the application of your knowledge.
Yeah, and exactly, when I found your platform and when I checked the challenges, which was published at this moment, I found the project from the A2A exactly about the robotics, exactly about for my skills, and exactly matched with my interests. And I've said, okay, I suppose it's super obvious and it's a sign for me and I have to participate. And, for me also, it was the totally new way how I usually work because, usually I work as a employee and have a salary, blah, blah, blah. But here I was like the solver and I really like the philosophy of your platform. It's like you can be from any country. You can have any experience. You can be wherever you want, and you can make it. You can solve the problem which usually companies published on the on this frontier line of innovations. It's like maybe the power of crowd. It's super huge, and sometimes you can find there's some really good and professional person who can solve that problem, by yourself and being alone. I mean, without any help, without any team. And it was actually super motivation for me. And all of that factors, unite in the situation. When I started to read all of that project, I realized that I have all skills for make the super successful solution for the A2A. And so I'm just not thinking about, I was not thinking about the price. I was not thinking about, if I won or not. I just realized that I can make something really good thing for that company and for the guys. And of course, I had, like more than 10 years of experience inside the engineering fields, any different mechanical, software, robotics, blah, blah, blah. And all of that experience united in this one application,
Yeah.
And for me, it was really good and big news that, I realized that I won this competition. I was super excited to hear that. And after that, it's like it's like the quantum jumping from the position which I had before and which I've been after I won the competition.
Yeah, and I think also it was your first time entering. It was quite nice in many ways that as you came to discover this opportunity, that almost the perfect challenge for you was sat there waiting, right? It could have been a month earlier or a month later, and you may have seen something totally different or missed that opportunity. So timing, as always in life, makes a huge difference to everything thereafter. And as a consequence, you were very successful in your first challenge, which is very rare actually. And partly you could argue that's because it was an area that was perfectly applied to your knowledge bank. I said in my introduction to today's episode, and I've said many times before, that the best ideas often come from adjacencies, but those adjacencies aren't just adjacency of skill sets, they're also adjacency of access and community and place and people, right? And so it was very unlikely that you would have been found by someone going out and looking for you necessarily, right, in this space, but you found them and were able to apply the skills and knowledge. But you've also subsequently participated in other things that are perhaps less within your sweet spots as well, right? So kind of both sides of the conversation. And I love those examples just as much, right? And so, maybe it's worth talking about, what happens that brought you back in, right? And to engage in something that was not quite so obviously designed for Vlad, like the first challenge was, right? And in terms of, give me more of those and I can do wonderful things. But some of these other areas were quite different and continue to be quite different, I think, looking at the areas that you choose to participate in as well. And so maybe from that lesson of, success and discovery and becoming part of a very elite group of, first-time successful solvers, right? That's a huge badge of honor. Congratulations, and testament to the background and the learning and the skills that you have. Many might feel very intimidated by that, right? Go, well, I'm not, I don't have all of those things and I can't therefore participate in this thing. It's not for me. I think that's not the message we want to put across from your side either, right? And so maybe talk about some of these other experiments and other challenges and programs that you've got involved in and still been successful in various ways with, that are further away from your core discipline.
Yeah, and of course, that's thank you for for mention that it could be super rare that I won the challenge in the first I won my first challenge on your platform. And yeah, if we're talking about the experiments, of course, for instance, I won in the 3 projects till that moment, right? And it's also mean that let's say my application was rejected in maybe in next 10 projects. And it's like I don't want to to show the part of just the success, because it's the second part of the let's say rejections of some different things. And it also inside these projects which was rejected, it's like also have the automation, also has the some healthcare, also has the bioinformatics fields. And it's like how to say, when I won the first project, of course, I started I realized that I can do more. And I started to participate, in a lot of projects. It's mentioned with my field, it's not mentioned with my fields. I just want, I just try to, I just trying to participate because I have an idea how to make it better. So, and if I feel that I can, give the value for the companies, I started to do that. If I feel that it's not for me, I mean, it's not like not for me. For instance, that is exactly what you mentioned. It's like the biotech, right? Or project with the proteins and bioinformatics fields. It was also, combination with the research and programming. And the tricky thing is that I won. It's like it was, as I remember, the third place or something like that with the Gates Foundation. And the thing is that at that moment I even didn't know how to programming. I mean. Of course, I know how to program, for instance, the robotics coordination or movements or trajectory of blah, 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 but I had no idea how to work, how to program, with the bioinformatics field, with the molecules, with the proteins. And for me, it was totally new, big universe. But at that moment, I work as a research assistant in Italian Institute. And it was, to be honest, the small scientific debate about my dissertation at the end of my study. And I said that, look, I said to the scientific community, look, I had an experience in the automation, robotics, AI. I can build the really good platform, and I see the ways how to connect the artificial intelligence with what we are doing in our laboratory. I mean, it was a lot of things with the spectrometers, how to check the spectra of the molecules. And it's it's a bit difficult. We have no time for describe it, but I implement the idea of how I can connect it, artificial intelligence, and what we are doing exactly in our lab. And they maybe rejected my ideas 3 times. And it was like 6 months, we're debating and arguing. Yes, I can. No, you cannot. And I said, okay, let's check the Simon platform and find some project. And it was exactly, the Gates Foundation project with and exactly about the proteins, exactly about the molecular structure, bioinformatics, and analyzing all of that big data inside of it, because the protein, it's usually just one protein, and we have the proteomes of the humans, of the plants, all of that stuff. And I said, okay, if you are rejecting my ideas, I try to implement my ideas outside and inside your platform. And so for me, it was the second sign that's like I can even work with that field of the bioinformatics, biotech, and all of that stuff. And after that, it was the third increasing of my ambitious and also skills. And now, when someone told me that introduce myself, I don't know how to introduce myself, because I am, I worked as a mechanical engineer, software engineer, robotics engineer, biomedical engineer, and maybe I'm just the engineer,
Yeah, maybe there's an engineer. You're a
yeah,
polymath engineer. There you go.
Yeah. and maybe, for instance, if we can, shift a bit to the recommendations to the another solvers.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going to take us in terms of applying that. So I think for the last little bit of the discussion, which has been fascinating, right, and really honest and sort of quite deeply personal. So thank you for it. Is sort of advice for others, and then a little bit around what the future looks like from your perspective as well, and then I'll kind of wind us to a close. But take your time and share those thoughts with the listeners.
Yeah, of course. For instance, if we're talking about the future, I am deeply convinced that it will be super positive, and I'm not agree with all of that people who knows that I don't know AI destroys our worlds, all of that stuff, because I know that right now we are in the point of the history when we have a lot of actually ways how we can develop our future, but the thing is still the same. It's we developing our future, and we developing the innovations in our future. And if you're think about it positive, you will create the positive technologies. And that's actually, it could be the first, maybe my advice to the solvers, like to think positive when you work on the projects which you choose on the incentive platform. I mean, like, for instance, sometimes I use it for the biotech. For instance, the problem required to try some way, try to find some way for organizing the delivery of some molecules for the new way to heal some part of the body, for instance, something like that. And I started to think about this person. I started to think about this patient. I mean, who will receive this this, let's say, healing new healing technology, new medical technology for him. And I started to think about what I can change, what I can do for him, and what I can do for him some in positive way. for instance, for not destroying some critical part of his body, not critical part of the health systems, blood systems, nervous system, etc. And maybe that's a good perspective to start. And the second point, maybe I can mention that, you have to have some experience and vision. For instance, if I have no experience, if in some very deep details, like for instance, ExxonMobil, right? They had the project with the polymers 1 year ago, and I have no idea what exactly they want, to do. And I started to analyze, I started to think, what is it? I started to, read some books. Of course, discussing it with some AI models, but my experience was not enough for it in general, and maybe it was the one reason which I was exactly in this project. I was rejected. I mean, my application was rejected. So maybe we have to think about, to find a good match between the project and your background and your vision. And the third part, which I discovered after I won the project with the proteins and for the bioinformatics and biotech, it's like we have to think about how the system works. It could be the automation system, it could be the robotics system, it could be the healthcare system, body system. That's really very important knowledge, and actually you cannot find it at the university, you cannot find it at school, you cannot find it in some general way when you learn something new in these basic places like school and university. You have to find it by yourself. And for instance, personally for me, I started from the Aristotle, from their logic, their knowledge of logics, because it was maybe my how to say, my another part of interest, because I've read the Critique of Pure Reason of Kant when I was 16, and it was crazy for my teachers, but sometimes after that moment I realized that we have some really interesting different books, and I know how to find some different approach to learn and study something new. And I started to read the Aristotle of their logic, and after that I realized why exactly the educational system works like that way, that we have the truth, we have a false. And I have to be honest, I had the many situations when I for instance calculate the tasks, right, on the physics, on the math course. I calculated something in a different way. It was very long, but it was very different way. I had the same result. I mean, the good answer. I mean, it was exactly true, following the logic of Aristotle, right? And but the teachers told me that no, it's super complicated. Why you did that? And it's actually false. I said, wait, the result is actually not false. It's true. And they told me that no, you can find the better way, and it was a lot of a lot of situations when I mentioned when I faced with that situations, and I realized that despite of the true and false, we have something in the middle, and it was. It was exactly the point when you try to find something new. You have it's like it's maybe I'm right now talking. It's not so clear, but I mean, between true and false, you can find some another value, and this another value exactly the value when you can find a new way how to solve it.
Yeah.
And I suppose this let's say rule of how I started to think, it's extremely important when you work with innovation projects, like all projects in the Innocentive platform.
I think you're crystal clear as well, right? And there's a podcast we'll do later in this season, hopefully, on the topic of the half-lives, the facts, as well. And so that in that space between what's true and what's false, in the kind of binary world of black and white, good and bad, true and false, lays a whole world of, as you said, innovation, discovery, false positives, false negatives, and everything in between. And I think that's the deep thinker in you. It's the systems thinker in you, and everything else. So I'm going to wind us in, because I think you and I could talk deeply all day, and I love listening to your comments, and I like watching your brain work as you go. Right. For people that have been listening to this is, it's the first time you've done one of these types of discussions. English is not your first language, as we discussed previously. You don't live in a primarily English-speaking country in Italy either, and so doing this in English for the first time and being really honest and vulnerable with us is hugely appreciated. Right? I think this has been a brilliant conversation, and thank you very, very, very much for that. I'm sure people will find it accessible, and I'm sure you're very happy for folk to reach out and connect with you on LinkedIn or whatever if they want to pick up afterwards as well. Hopefully you can also see why I was so keen to bring you onto the podcast and tell what is a slightly different story than many of the others that we have, but I try and weave in these very human innovators at the grassroots level stories as much as I possibly can. So from my side, thank you, Vlad, very, very much. Hopefully others are inspired by you as well, but I certainly am. So thank you on a number of different levels.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for what you are doing, for everything that, because you also have a big mission when you developing this platform of Innocentive, because you give me an opportunity to work with that project, and you also gave some companies opportunities to solve their problems. And I think that's a perfect match, and that is how the future economy will work in the very near future.
Yeah, so normally I put a close on this, but I think you did a beautiful job for me. And so, Vlad, once again, thank you very much. For people that are listening who aren't sure about Innocentive and what we're talking about, check it out at innocentive.com. I hope everyone has been left a little bit more curious by this, a little bit more inspired by the journey that was shared, but also the opportunities that are in front of us if we do keep an open mind, a lifelong learner mindset in terms of the way that are there. This constantly asking questions of why, and does it have to be like this? And what from my background, which doesn't have to be a specialism, could be a generalism. What can I bring forward that might, as you put nicely, be an idea of how to make this better, right? In all of the things we've said, and from Aristotle to polymers to everything else, that very nice, simple sentence of what can I bring that might be able to help make this better is, you talk about it as a big mission. That really is the mission, right? Is to try and make things better. So everybody, thank you as always for listening. I appreciate the time that people, both guests and listeners, give to all of this. We've got, and I've had a number of incredible guests in this series, and they keep coming thick and fast as we go. So click subscribe, click follow, keep sharing, keep giving me feedback as you go. We have a new home for the podcast, as well as all the usual different places at the infiniteloop.co, infinite-loop.co, where you can pick up the content from the podcast and a variety of other different bits of insight and thought leadership that we're trying to bring to keep everybody curious, keep everybody thinking. And therefore, until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you all again very soon.
What's it worth?